Hey y'all, it's Michael, and the next short story collection that I'm going to be reading is Sour Heart by Jenny Zhang. So, May is Asian Pacific Island Heritage Month, and so I thought I would read a string of short story collections by Asian authors. And so, I've seen this floating around like a few years ago. I believe when was this published? I'm not positive on that. This is first edition 2017. So yeah, 2 years ago, a few years ago. So yeah, what I'll do is after each and every single short story, I'll let y'all know what I think about each one, and then at the end, I'll do a collective overall thoughts. So yeah, let's go. Alright, I finished reading the first short story on here called We Love You, Crispina. Um, in the words of RuPaul, I would describe it as meh. Um, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. It's about an immigrant family, just basically trying to survive, and we follow the point of view from the little girl. I think why I didn't like it was that I felt it was like just like so over the top, and I don't know if that might be the the tone that the collection is going for, because hence the name sour. So it has this tone of like it's just like straight up in your face, which I don't mind. It's just that it was just like going so it felt like a little bit overboard during some moments, and I was just like I wasn't grooving with it. And in regards to the writing style, I was just thought it was basically okay. Like there was nothing really grabbing at me, if anything, because I always do enjoy immigrant stories. That's one of my favorite things reading about. It was just like a little bit too much. It was just like, and it was long. It felt too long. I read the second short story called The Empty, The Empty, The Empty. This one actually was, I did enjoy this one better than the previous short story, but I'm still on the fence in general about the collection. So this was actually follow a character from the previous short story, and we just follow her as she goes through school essentially. Now, let me tell. Okay, so there's a lot. So this, I could tell this is a collection of short stories not for every reader, because it is kind of crass in that way. Hence the name Sour Heart. There's like a lot of sour moments, that type of thing, because it holds nothing back. Me personally, but there were moments in here where, and I'm gonna speak the truth, but it was like it it because I think also because they were underage, it creeped me out a little bit and it made me uncomfortable. I think this short story in particular, compared to the last one, works a little bit better because, well, it's more lighthearted, because it also has this, I think, the sarcastic tone that in the first one, like, it's very sarcastic, because the way that the events unfold, it just, for me, works a little bit better. But I'm still on the fence about the collection overall. The writing is okay. Like, I understand that these are kids, like these are the perspectives of the kids. But yeah, so far, overall, I'm still indifferent. But just letting y'all know. So I finished the short story, Our Mothers Before Them. Um, okay, yeah, that's how I felt about it. So I've been reading a lot of short stories this year, like a lot of them. Basically, one every single day, essentially, and a little bit more during some days. So I've been doing really well. And one thing that I really did notice is the length of the stories and the pacing of stories. It does get a little bit murky for me, anyways, when it starts to become like a novella, like a short story novella. There are, I think, technical rules for like what those constitute as, but for me, they do tend to blend, and so sometimes I could say it's a short story, and sometimes it's technically a novella or vice versa. So this story is about Annie, and we're basically following her life and her family. She's related to the previous two short stories essentially. Like it has a relationship between all of them. They basically meet each other and whatnot. The thing though is, I think this story is too long. Like too long. And I say this because also I feel as though I wasn't invested enough. And this is one of those things where, like, some of the stuff just, it just is a little bit too much. I myself am not seeing the purpose of some of the plot points, and I was just like, well, I just, it's, yeah, it's not doing anything for me. And I say the length because this is incredibly long. Like this is way too long. It doesn't have this vibe to it that I'm not enjoying these. I'm not enjoying this collection at all. But I'm gonna keep going, but yeah, I'm gonna let y'all know now, I'm not enjoying this. Alright, so I finished reading the short story The Evolution of My Brother. I really Y'all, I am not enjoying this collection at all. I really didn't like this. This is about basically, it's connects with the other short stories, but I just didn't like it because for me, I don't know what, I think I'm missing the point of like what is the underlining of these stories, because a lot of them just seems to be like one of those books where it's just like has shock factor just to be having shock factor, and I'm I don't know, I'm not liking it, and it's similar to my other gripes with the previous short stories. That's what I think it's is what it's missing for me, is that I'm missing like this point, this road that the stories are going towards. And while it connects with the other stories, it's so long. I a lot of yeah, I'm gonna keep going, but if keep saying the same thing over and over again, then just know that I'm just not enjoying it. And at this point, it's just like just finishing it to be finishing it. I just finished reading My Days and Nights of Terror. Y'all, I am really not enjoying these stories, and at this point, there's only two short stories left, so I'm just gonna finish it, and that's about it. This one's about they connect again like usual, and this one's about a girl named Mead who has this friend who has a family. The thing is, like, all of these stories are starting to mishmash, and it's very one note. It's very meandering. It's just for me, like, it has no purpose. And I say this because, like, I'm just not enjoying these stories. I think this collection is not that great. I don't know, man. Like, it seems to me, anyways, that a lot of these stories are like the events that happen are just for shock value, and it, and I can get behind shock value. Like, I can see the purpose of them, but here it just seems like it's just happening just to be happening, and I don't personally see the underlining and the meaning behind them, and then so for me it's just like, why is this happening? Like, why should I care? And there's some awful things that happen to these girls in this story, and I was just like, what's the reason? What is the reason? Nothing is just, man, it's not good. It's just not good, man. Oh. And now, according to my Bookly app that I checked on my phone, it's about an hour and some change for me to read the remaining last stories. And it's just, at this point, I just finished reading Why Were They Throwing Bricks? This one is about this, well, it's mainly about Stacy and Alan. They're Chinese, about their grandma. Yeah, that was it. I thought it was, okay. Okay, finally, I finished the last short story called You Fell Into the River and I Saved You. It's about the first narrator from the main character from the first short story, Chrissy, and it's about her mom and dad telling her about, it doesn't matter because I really didn't like this collection at all. Most of the time, I go with my feelings, like how I'm feeling when I'm reading stories, and the one emotion I was feeling was frustrated and just mad and confused. I was just like, why? Like, why would I care? It just, a lot of these, like, even there's this thing about like poop in here that I was like, what does that even have to do with anything? Like, Alright, so I thought I would give you guys my final thoughts on Sour Heart by Jenny Zhang. This is probably one of the most disappointing books I've read this year. Let me flat out say it, I hated this. And one thing I've always strived for on my channel is to be truthful, but also be mindful of how I state my words and how I want to project on how I feel about these stories. I really didn't like this. I hated it from just, probably the second one is probably, at least as you saw, probably the most but my main issue, there's so many issues with this for me personally, is first off, the stories are too long. They're too long. They meander. I felt as though I've never gotten the meat and the juice of them. I'm filming. A lot of the parts I just felt like it was just to be like, it's just over the top for just to be over the top. And overall, I really didn't like it. Also, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I just wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't. There's that. At the end of these, I always let y'all know the next short story collection that I'm going to be reading, and that's Exhalation by Ted Chiang. Now, I am, after Sour Heart, I know I need to read something that will like lift me up. I'm really excited to read this, so yeah, I'm hoping it's good.